Hey guys, we're Max and Jacqueline and we just wrapped up an epic 2-week road trip in Andalusia, Spain. In this video, we're going to share with you our amazing itinerary plus a few handy tips to make sure you get the most out of your Spanish road trip. Let's start with when to visit. We personally visited in the April/May season, which, if you're not aware, is right before the summer. So by visiting in May, we got the warm pre-summer weather without it being too hot, and we also got a lot less crowds. One of the other huge advantages of visiting in May was the cost of accommodation. We looked up some of the Airbnbs that we stayed in and we saw that they actually tripled in price just from May to June. So if you can visit in April or May, I highly recommend visiting in that shoulder season. June to August is obviously the summer season. It is the high season in Europe and it's going to be the hottest and most expensive time to visit. But that's also when a lot of people are able to take holidays. So if you can only visit in that time, just make sure you are pre-planning and booking far in advance to make sure you actually get accommodation and you get the best deals you can. Let's talk a little bit about how to plan your trip to Spain. We went into our road trip with a rough guide of places that we wanted to visit, but with nothing booked more than a day or two in advance because we wanted to have the freedom to be able to just go wherever if something came up. We actually missed out on going to a lot of sites in Spain because we didn't pre-book them and they were booked out 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time. What the hell? Why do you have to pre-book everything here? We have missed out on so many sites because we haven't pre-booked tickets. We'll put in the description how many days we spent in each location as well, so that if you are planning this trip, you can kind of try to pre-plan and pre-book things ahead of time if that suits your style. If you do want to do a more freestyle road trip like we did, then just be prepared that there are going to be some things that you're not going to be able to visit. We were really sad about some of the sites we couldn't go see, but also it saved us a lot of money not paying entrance fees. So there's good and there's bad. So driving in Spain, there are a couple of things that you will need to have. If you're not from the EU or you don't have a driver's license in the EU, you will need an international driver's license to rent and drive a car in Spain. We actually rented our car in Portugal because that's where we were starting, and the cost of renting a car in Portugal was much cheaper than renting it in Spain. Because Portugal and Spain are right next to each other, it was just a few hours drive over the border and we were in Spain. If you're not starting in Portugal, then you'll just have to pay a little bit extra and rent the car in Spain. It's not going to be too expensive, especially if you use discovercars.com. Discover Cars will definitely get you the cheapest option for your car rental. Because they are an online searching platform, they'll actually compare the prices of all the different companies to find you the cheapest price. Because they bring so many customers to these companies, they can actually get you major discounts on your car rental. And an added benefit with Discover Cars are no hidden fees, so when you show up, you will not need to pay any extra fees. Plus, they have a free cancellation policy, which means you can cancel your rental car up to 48 hours before the booking, which, if you're last minute travelers like us, is perfect because you never know when your plans are going to change. We were able to book our car weeks in advance, secure the best, cheapest deal, knowing that if our plans did change, we would be able to cancel without any cost. We rented this small SUV, which was perfect for driving around Spain. We had tons of room for our luggage, for our bags, and even for some friends who joined us for a portion of our Portugal road trip, and it was small enough to fit down the narrow streets of Europe and fit into any car space, so it was perfect. We ended up paying just €11 a day for this rental car, which is an absolute steal. So we highly recommend that if you are doing a Spanish road trip, check out discovercars.com. We will leave a link in the description below. Driving in Spain is super easy. They do drive on the right-hand side of the road, and all of the roads that we took were in perfect, pristine condition. We avoided tolls by taking the scenic routes, which I highly recommend because you just get to see more of the countryside, and honestly the scenic routes were beautiful. Apart from saving money on tolls, we just had the best time driving through all the farmlands, all the olive groves, seeing donkeys on the side of the road. It was just a really nice way. Okay, so let's jump into our itinerary. As I mentioned, we did hire the car in Portugal and drive to Spain, and our first stop in Spain was Cadiz. Cadiz is on the southwest coast of Spain, and it is the oldest city in Western Europe as well as the oldest city in Spain. We just spent one day exploring Cadiz, which we found to be more than enough. It gave us a chance to walk around the city, go into some of the slides, have lunch at the market, and really just enjoy the vibe of this beautiful city. It has so many small, narrow, winding streets, a beautiful cathedral, an amazing market, and some really cool Roman ruins. But one day is more than enough to explore this tiny city. So after Cadiz, we ended up driving straight up to Gibraltar, which was just a few hours away. Gibraltar is actually not a part of Spain, and it is a part of the British Empire. It is a very small piece of land on the south coast of Spain, and it's so close to Morocco that you can actually look over the water and see Morocco on the other side. This small tiny piece of land was a very strategic piece of land, especially during World War II, and the British Empire have maintained control of this. We thought it was so cool to actually leave Spain for a day, walk across the border, and all of a sudden be in the part of the British Empire. The actual Gibraltar Rock, which is what it's famous for, was so cool. We paid £19 each to go up this rock and explore so many amazing sites. Spending a full day up on the rock is essential. It was one of our highlights of this road trip. There's lots of World War II tunnels that you can explore. There's beautiful St. Michael's Cave. There's amazing lookouts, and it's really just a beautiful, beautiful place to experience. We do not recommend staying in Gibraltar because it is way too expensive. So we actually stayed on the other side of the bay, about an hour from Gibraltar, and then caught the bus to Gibraltar during the day because this saved us money on parking fees as well as on expensive accommodation. And we found that we had plenty of time to take the bus there, enjoy our day in Gibraltar, and get back as well. After Gibraltar, we actually made our way inland towards Ronda. So this was our first time leaving the coastline on the south of Spain and heading inland into one of the most romantic villages we've ever visited. Ronda is famous for its 285-meter bridge. This one you've probably seen on Instagram, but is definitely something that you're going to want to see in person. We spent the whole next day exploring Ronda as well as Sentinel de las Bodegas. This is a town that is about a 20-minute drive from Ronda, and it is famous for being built into the caves and cliff sides. So you'll see houses and restaurants and buildings all built into the walls of the cliffs. So it's kind of like the town and the cliffs are all one. It's really unique and really beautiful, and I highly recommend spending half a day in Ronda and then half a day in Sentinel de las Bodegas. They are both so beautiful and so much fun to explore. From here, our next stop was the Caminito del Rey. This is by far the most famous hike in all of Spain, and we could not recommend it enough. This is a beautiful 8-kilometer hike that winds through this amazing gorge. Some of the pathways are over 100 meters high, and the tallest point of the gorge is 700 meters high. There is a beautiful green river flowing through this gorge, and just so much stunning scenery and nature and gorgeous colors surrounded. This is one of the most popular hikes in Spain, so you do need to book this one in advance. We didn't book in advance, but luckily we showed up super early on the day of the hike and lined up. We were roughly the 35th people to get a ticket, and they only had a total of 60 tickets available on the day. So you really need to make sure that you do show up early if you're going to risk it like we did and not pre-book in advance. The tickets for this hike do sell out 4 weeks in advance. So if you know you really want to do this hike, I highly recommend booking online. Tickets are only €10 to do a self-guided walk, and although it is busy, you will find the crowds start to disperse and you do get a lot of alone time on the hike. Then as you get to the more scenic sections where people are stopping to take a lot of photos, you'll notice the crowd starts to bunch up a little bit as well. After the Caminito del Rey, we made our way to Granada. Granada is a stunning historical town in Andalusia in Spain. The most famous attraction in Granada is the Alhambra, but once again, you do need to book in advance to visit this, which we did not. It's about €20 to enter the Alhambra, and you will need to book about 3 to 4 weeks in advance if you want to get tickets. This is one of the sites in Spain that we are so sad that we missed out on. It looks absolutely stunning and amazing and well worth the €20 entrance fee. But if you don't book in advance like us, then don't worry, Granada is still an amazing town. It's filled with beautiful streets that you can wander around. Plus, it is one of the few places in Spain that is well known for still providing free tapas when you order a drink. So definitely head out to the restaurants, grab yourself a drink, grab yourself some free tapas. We had some amazing food in Granada. It's just cheesy, potatoey, fried heaven. Just wandering around the beautiful Granada was incredible. After Granada, we drove a few hours to Cordoba, which once again is such a stunning city. Cordoba is actually really tiny, and you could definitely do this on a single day trip, but we stayed in Cordoba and we could not have been happier with that decision. We spent the day visiting the famous Mosque Cathedral, which is one of the most beautiful cathedrals we have ever visited. It's kind of pricey with an entrance fee of €13 per person, but it's absolutely stunning and well worth seeing, as you will never have seen anything like this in all of your travels. Cordoba is also where we decided to go see a flamenco show. So flamenco is really famous in Spain, and you absolutely have to go see a flamenco show when you're there. There's lots of really big productions that you can go to, but what you want to find is a small, locally owned and operated tablao. So tablao is what they call the restaurants or bars where they actually have the flamenco shows. We'll put a link in the description to the one that we went to because it was so incredible. It was a really small room with a small stage. All of the tables were so close to the stage, so you really felt close to the dancers. You could see every emotion on their face. And if you know anything about flamenco, you know that it's a really emotional and intense experience. So we highly recommend grabbing a bottle of wine and going to a flamenco show. You will not regret it. It's one of the most unique shows and unique styles of dance we've ever witnessed. After Cordoba, we made it to our final city and our final stop on this road trip, which is Sevilla. Sevilla is absolutely gorgeous, but it's so expensive. Even though we were visiting in May before the busy period, we could not afford to stay in Sevilla. Accommodation was so expensive. Even if we wanted to stay in a hostel, we would be looking at paying like $70 per night per person, which was crazy. So we actually stayed about an hour outside of Seville, parked our car just out of the city and caught the bus in, which saved us a lot of money. We spent just one day exploring Sevilla, but you could easily spend 2 days in Sevilla if you wanted to. There's a lot of stuff to do here, and once again, we missed out because we didn't pre-book in advance. One of the biggest sites in Sevilla is the Alcazar. It is the fortress, the castle in the city center, and it is meant to be absolutely gorgeous. I had read online that you could buy tickets at the gate, but I guess that was wrong because we weren't able to get tickets. With all the research I did, that was the most highly recommended thing to do in Sevilla. Right next to the Alcazar is the Cathedral of Seville. This cathedral is absolutely huge. It's actually the largest cathedral by volume in all of Europe. It's definitely worth checking out from the outside, but to get entrance is kind of expensive again at about 13 euro per person. And because we've already been to so many cathedrals in Spain and in Europe, we decided to give this one a miss. From what I've read online, that was the right decision. Everywhere in Seville is so beautiful, so we had such a good time there. Apart from the Alcazar and the cathedral, almost everything that we wanted to see was free, and they were just sites around the city. So it actually ended up being a really affordable day. Okay, so finally, we're going to share with you a bit of the budget for our road trip so you can see how much we spent over the 2 weeks. Just so you know, we have been traveling full time for 2 years, and we are trying to travel on a budget of $100 per day. So if you have a bigger budget, you could definitely spend more than we did. So I'm going to break it down in categories, how much we spent per day and also in total. So as I mentioned, the rental car was 11 euro a day, so affordable. So for 14 days, we spent 154 euro for the rental car, but that didn't include petrol. Petrol came to about 15 euro per day. So across 2 weeks, we ended up spending 228 euro. Our average accommodation price ended up being just 37 euro, which was pretty good, but this didn't include our costs in Granada, because in Granada, we actually used some of our travel credit card to book. We actually got an almost free accommodation there and only spent about $8 per night to stay in Granada. So this is only for 12 nights. Like I said, on average, it was 37 euro a day, and our total was 438 euro for 2 weeks. For food, we spent just 27 euro a day, and just keeping in mind that this is actually for 2 people. This was really a surprise to me that we spent so little. We did eat a lot at grocery stores. We tend to book places that have apartments, so they usually include a kitchen that we can use as well. Plus, we just made like a lot of sandwiches because we were road tripping, and just bought snacks from like the panaderia or the supermarket. But we did eat some meals out. We were just conscientious of how much we spent when we were eating out. But because it was road trip vibes, honestly, it was a lot of snacks and a lot of sandwiches, and it came to just 27 euro a day. For our activities, we ended up spending 156 euro for the full 2 weeks, but like I said, we actually missed out on quite a few sites that we would have liked to have seen. So if we had gone to those sites as well, we would have spent about an extra 80 euro on top of that. This road trip in Andalusia was honestly one of the highlights of all of our travels throughout Europe. We absolutely loved it, and we loved Spain so much. And 2 weeks was the perfect amount of time. We were not rushed at all. We were able to really enjoy all of the sites that we visited. Anyway, that is everything for this video. I hope that you found this video useful. Please leave us a comment if you have any other questions that we can answer for you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. We will leave a link in the description to our entire road trip series. So if you are wanting a more detailed look into each of the cities that we visited, then check those out.